I never thought at 58 years old I'd be sleeping in my Honda Civic in a McDonald's parking lot, trying to figure out where I was going to spend the night. The smell of French fries mixed with the musty odor of my old car, and I couldn't help but laugh bitterly at how fast everything had fallen apart. My name is Victor Hartwell, and 3 months ago I had my own construction engineering firm with contracts worth millions. 220 years in the Army Corps of Engineers, then 18 years building my civilian career from nothing. I'd learned precision and strategic thinking in the military, skills that served me well designing complex commercial projects. Now I was sitting here with $23.50 ever in my wallet, wondering if that was enough for a coffee and maybe a burger. The collapse happened so fast I still couldn't process it all. The Morrison Plaza project, our biggest contract ever at $422 million, went sideways when their foundation cracked due to soil conditions nobody could have predicted. We'd done every geological survey required, but Mother Nature had her own plans. Their lawyers came after us with everything they had, and my insurance company found some technicality about undisclosed soil variance liability to deny coverage. Suddenly, I was facing a $2.08 million judgment I couldn't pay. Lost the business first, then the house. The bank didn't care about my 25 years of perfect payment history or my Distinguished Service Medal from Iraq. Numbers on a spreadsheet don't have feelings, and mine were all in the red. I managed to save about $8,000 from selling my tools and equipment, but that money disappeared fast between legal fees, rent deposits, and just trying to survive. My office had been on the 12th floor of the Meridian building downtown, with windows overlooking the city skyline and walls covered with photos from major projects I'd engineered. 27 successful commercial builds, from shopping centers to office complexes. Now all of that was gone, reduced to a cardboard box of personal items in my trunk. That's how I ended up at my son Leonard's door on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying one suitcase and what was left of my pride. Leonard lived in a nice colonial house in the suburbs with his wife Dorothy. The neighborhood was called Maple Ridge, one of those developments where every lawn looked like it belonged in a magazine. Dorothy had expensive taste, the kind that showed in every detail of their home, from the imported Italian tiles in the foyer to the designer furniture arranged just so. Dad, Leonard opened the door looking surprised, even though I'd called ahead. "I thought you were coming this weekend." "Plans changed," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Is now a bad time?" Before he could answer, Dorothy appeared behind him, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. I'd never been her favorite person, but the look she gave me that day was different, colder. She was a real estate agent, used to sizing up situations quickly, and I could see her calculating in real time. "Victor," she said, my name sounding like a burden. "Leonard told me about your situation." I shifted my suitcase to my other hand, the handle cutting into my palm. "I was hoping I could stay for a few days, just until I get back on my feet. I won't be any trouble." Dorothy crossed her arms, and I watched Leonard's whole posture change. He'd always been a good kid, graduated from state with a business degree I'd helped pay for. Got a decent job as an insurance claims adjuster. But somewhere along the way, he'd learned to read his wife's moods like weather patterns, adjusting his stance before the storm hit. The thing is, Dorothy continued, using that particular tone women use when they're about to deliver bad news wrapped in false concern. "We have the Hendersons coming to stay this weekend. You know how small our guest room is?" I looked at Leonard, waiting for him to say something. We both knew the Hendersons lived exactly 22 minutes away in Riverside Heights and had never stayed overnight in their lives. Bob Henderson was Leonard's supervisor at the insurance company, and their visits usually lasted exactly long enough for one drink before Dorothy found an excuse to end them. "Maybe there's a motel nearby," Leonard said finally, not meeting my eyes. "Something temporary until you figure things out." Standing there on their doorstep, looking at the wreath Dorothy had hung on their mahogany door, I felt something break inside me that had nothing to do with money or houses. This was my son, the boy I'd taught to throw a perfect spiral in the backyard, helped with algebra homework at the kitchen table, put through college even when it meant taking on extra debt and working weekends. "I see," I said quietly. Dorothy's expression softened just enough to look sympathetic. "It's not that we don't want to help, Victor. It's just such a difficult time for everyone. Leonard's been stressed about work, and I'm dealing with my mother's health issues down in Florida. We barely have the emotional bandwidth to handle our own problems." Emotional bandwidth. I wondered when caring for family became something that required bandwidth, like an internet connection with monthly limits. "Of course," I said. "I understand." "There's a Hampton Inn about 10 minutes from here," Leonard said, finally looking at me directly. "It's not too expensive." I'd checked their website on my phone before coming over, sitting in their driveway gathering courage. $95 a night, plus taxes. 3 nights would wipe out most of what I had left, and that was assuming they had rooms available. "That sounds perfect," I lied. I hugged Leonard goodbye, and for a moment he held on a little longer than usual. His shoulders felt broader than I remembered, solid like he'd been working out. I thought maybe he was going to change his mind, invite me in, tell Dorothy that his father needed help, and that was that. Instead, he patted my back twice and said, "Take care of yourself, Dad. Call me when you get settled somewhere." Walking back to my car, I heard their front door close with a soft click that sounded final. Through their living room window, I could see Dorothy moving around, probably already forgetting I'd been there. The lawn sprinklers kicked on as I pulled out of their driveway, sending arcs of water across their perfect grass. The Hampton Inn was full. So was the Holiday Inn Express and the 2 budget motels I tried after that. Some kind of medical conference in town had every room booked solid through the weekend. The desk clerk at the last place, a tired-looking woman with kind eyes, suggested I try the next town over, about 30 miles down the interstate. By 8 p.m., I was parked behind a 24-hour diner called Mel's, trying to figure out how to sleep in a Honda Civic without looking like what I was rapidly becoming, a homeless person. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent my entire career designing and building homes for other people, and now I couldn't find a place to sleep. That's when my phone rang. The number on my phone wasn't one I recognized. After the day I'd had, part of me wanted to let it go to voicemail, but desperation makes you answer calls you might otherwise ignore. Victor Hartwell. The voice was formal, precise, with just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. Speaking, "My name is Philip Coleman. I'm calling on behalf of my employer, Mr. Albert Whitfield. He would very much like to meet with you tomorrow morning if you're available." I shifted in the driver's seat, trying to get comfortable against the Honda's worn upholstery. Through the diner's windows, I could see a waitress refilling coffee cups for the late-night crowd. "I'm sorry, who? Albert Whitfield? He's requested a meeting with you at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's quite urgent, I'm afraid." The name meant nothing to me. In 38 years between military and civilian construction work, you meet thousands of people, but Albert Whitfield wasn't ringing any bells. Could be a potential client, maybe someone who'd heard about my situation through the industry grapevine. "I think you might have the wrong Victor Hartwell," I said. "I don't know anyone by that name." There was a pause, then the sound of papers rustling. Victor James Hartwell, born March 15, 1966. Former Army Corps of Engineers, previously owner of Hartwell Construction Solutions. My stomach tightened. The company name was right, even though it had been dissolved for months now. "How do you know about my business, Mr. Whitfield has been quite specific about wanting to meet with you. He's well, he's not in the best of health, and time is rather precious. I'm afraid I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I can tell you that Mr. Whitfield is prepared to compensate you for your time. Would $500 be sufficient for a 1-hour meeting? $500? More than I'd seen in weeks. I looked around the empty parking lot, trying to process what I was hearing. A few hours ago, I'd been turned away by my own son. Now a complete stranger was offering to pay me more than my last 3 odd jobs combined just to sit in a room for an hour. What does he want? I'm afraid I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I can assure you this is a legitimate business matter. Mr. Whitfield is quite well known in certain circles. Where the Whitfield estate, I can send you the address. Shall we say 10 a.m.? I thought about my $23.50, about sleeping in my car, about the look on Dorothy's face when she'd mentioned emotional bandwidth. I'll be there. Excellent. And Mr. Hartwell, please dress appropriately. Mr. Whitfield values proper presentation. After hanging up, I sat staring at my phone screen. The whole conversation felt surreal, like something that happened to other people. Rich strangers didn't just call up failed contractors offering them money for meetings. But then again, a week ago, I wouldn't have believed I'd be sleeping in my car either. The address came through a few minutes later. 47 Elmridge Drive. I plugged it into my GPS and wasn't surprised to see it was in Millbrook Heights, where the houses started at $3 million and went up from there. That was old money territory. The kind of neighborhood where people had gates with security codes and landscaping that required full-time staff. I tried to sleep that night, but Honda seats weren't designed for someone my size. At 6'2" and 19.5 pounds, I had to fold myself like a pretzel just to fit. Every time I started to doze off, a car would pull into the diner's parking lot, headlights sweeping across my windshield like searchlights. Around 3 a.m., a police cruiser made a slow pass through the lot, and I held my breath until it disappeared down the street. I spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, wondering what kind of man had enough money to pay $500 for an hour of a stranger's time. In the military, I'd learned that unexpected opportunities usually came with unexpected complications. Nothing was ever as simple as it seemed, especially when large sums of money were involved. By morning, I was stiff, tired, and more than a little nervous. I cleaned up as best I could in the diner's bathroom, splashing cold water on my face and combing my gray hair with my fingers. The man in the mirror looked older than 58, worn down by months of stress and a night sleeping upright in a car. My dress shirt was wrinkled despite being on a hanger, and my tie felt like a noose around my neck. The Whitfield estate was everything I'd expected and more. The gates alone probably cost more than most people's cars, electronic and imposing, with intricate metalwork that looked hand-forged. A voice came through the intercom before I could even announce myself. "Mr. Hartwell, please proceed to the main house." The driveway curved through what looked like a professionally maintained park. Ancient oak trees lined the path, their branches forming a canopy overhead that filtered the morning sunlight into dancing patterns. The grass was so perfectly manicured it looked artificial, and flower beds arranged with mathematical precision bordered every turn. The house, when it finally came into view, wasn't just large, it was magnificent. Colonial architecture with modern touches, probably 15,000 square feet, sitting on grounds that seemed to stretch forever. A fountain dominated the circular drive, water cascading from 3 tiers, while marble cherubs looked on with serene expressions. I parked my Honda between a Mercedes S-Class and a BMW 7 Series, feeling like I'd brought a skateboard to a car show. The contrast was almost comical, my 2014 Civic with its faded paint and duct tape on the passenger mirror, flanked by vehicles that cost more than most people's houses. Philip Coleman met me at the front door before I could ring the bell. He was exactly what I'd pictured from his voice, tall, thin, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that had definitely been tailored. His gray hair was perfectly styled, and his handshake was firm but brief, the grip of someone accustomed to authority. "Mr. Hartwell, thank you for coming. Mr. Whitfield is waiting for you in his study." He led me through rooms that belonged in a museum. The foyer alone was larger than my old office, with marble floors that gleamed like mirrors and a crystal chandelier that probably cost more than my annual salary back when I had one. Persian rugs covered hardwood floors in geometric patterns I couldn't begin to appreciate, and oil paintings in heavy gilt frames lined the walls, original works, not reproductions, judging by the subtle texture of brushstrokes visible even from a distance. The hallway stretched on forever, past a formal dining room with a table that could seat 20, a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes, and what looked like a small ballroom with French doors opening onto manicured gardens. Every piece of furniture looked like it had been handcrafted by someone who'd never worried about money, never calculated whether they could afford groceries and rent in the same month. The study was smaller than the other rooms, but somehow more impressive. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with volumes that looked actually read rather than decorative, a massive mahogany desk that dominated the center of the room, and windows that looked out over gardens that definitely required a full-time staff. The smell of leather and old paper filled the air, mixed with something else, maybe pipe tobacco, though I didn't see any evidence of smoking. Albert Whitfield sat behind the desk in a motorized wheelchair, and I could see immediately that Philip hadn't been exaggerating about his health. He was thin to the point of frailty, his skin pale and papery, with the translucent quality that comes with serious illness. But his eyes were sharp, alert, studying me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. He was probably in his early 70s, wearing a burgundy robe over pajamas and slippers that probably cost more than my car. "Victor Hartwell," he said, his voice stronger than his appearance suggested. "Please sit down." I took the leather chair across from his desk, my work boots looking wildly out of place on his expensive rug. The chair was more comfortable than anything I'd sat in for months, soft leather that molded itself around me like an expensive glove. "Thank you for coming," he continued. "I imagine you're wondering why I asked to see you." The thought had crossed my mind. He smiled, and for a moment something flickered in his expression, recognition, maybe sadness. It was gone too quickly for me to be sure. "Tell me, Victor, do you remember a rainy night 6 years ago? October 15th, to be exact, Route 12, just outside Millbrook. My blood went cold. I hadn't thought about that night in years, had tried not to think about it. The memory was one of those things you file away in the back of your mind, hoping it stays buried." "How do you know about that?" Albert Whitfield leaned forward in his wheelchair, his pale hands folded on the desk. "Because, Victor, I was in the other car, the BMW that went through the guardrail." The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the arms of the chair, my heart pounding as that night came flooding back in vivid detail. The rain pounding on my windshield, the screech of brakes, the sickening sound of metal against metal and splintering wood. "You were," I started, then stopped. My mouth had gone dry. Albert nodded slowly. "The BMW that went through the guardrail. Yes, that was me. October 15th, 6 years ago. I'd been driving home from a job site that night, exhausted after a 14-hour day trying to finish the structural engineering review for a new shopping center before the weekend deadline. The rain had started around sunset and hadn't let up, one of those October storms that comes in hard and fast, turning the roads into skating rinks. Route 12 was always dangerous in weather like that, with its sharp curves and steep drops, but I'd driven it 1,000 times. I knew every turn, every dip in the road. I was coming around the bend near Miller's Creek, probably doing 45 in a 55 zone because of the conditions, when I saw the headlights. They were in my lane, coming straight at me. The BMW was hydroplaning, completely out of control, the driver fighting a losing battle with physics and momentum. I had maybe 2 seconds to react. You swerved, Albert said quietly, watching my face. You could have stayed in your lane. The impact would have been head-on, but the other driver would have taken most of the damage. Instead, you swerved right into the guardrail. I remembered the decision, if you could even call it that. It was pure instinct, military training taking over. See danger, avoid it, protect others. I yanked the wheel hard right, sending my pickup truck into a skid that carried me straight into the metal barrier. The guardrail held barely, but my truck was totaled. The front end crumpled like an accordion, steam rising from the radiator, headlights pointing in different directions. You went through the rail, I said, the memory becoming clearer with each detail, down into the creek. 20 feet down, Albert confirmed. The car landed upside down in 3 feet of water. The impact knocked me unconscious. I closed my eyes, seeing it again. After my truck had come to a stop, I'd sat there for a moment, dazed, checking to see if anything was broken. My left shoulder ached from where the seatbelt had caught me, and there was a cut on my forehead from where I'd hit the steering wheel despite the airbag. That's when I'd heard the splash from below, seen the headlights pointing up through the rain like some kind of distress signal. You climbed down, Albert continued. The embankment was muddy, steep. You fell at least twice, I'm told. By the time you reached my car, it was filling with water. The details were coming back, now sharp and clear. The BMW had been crumpled like a tin can, driver's side down in the creek bed. Water was pouring in through the broken windows, and I could see someone inside, unconscious, blood on their forehead. I'd waded in, soaking myself to the waist in freezing October water that felt like it was made of ice picks. The door was jammed, I said softly. I had to break the passenger window with a rock. Cut your hands doing it, then you pulled me out through the opening. I remembered that part vividly. Albert had been unconscious, a dead weight, blood running from a gash on his forehead. Getting him through that window and up the embankment had been one of the hardest things I'd ever done physically. The man was probably 180 pounds of dead weight, and the slope was muddy, treacherous. I'd fallen twice myself, once with him over my shoulder, rolling down the embankment and having to start over. The ambulance came, Albert said. You rode with me to the hospital, stayed until my wife arrived. The doctor said if I'd been in that water for another few minutes, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. You saved my life, Walter. I shifted uncomfortably in the leather chair. Anyone would have done the same thing. Albert's laugh was bitter, hollow. Would they? The police report said 3 other cars passed the scene before you arrived. 3 people who saw my headlights in the creek and kept driving. I hadn't known that. After that night, I'd tried to put the whole thing behind me. My insurance had covered the truck. I'd been uninjured except for some cuts and bruises, and I'd gone back to work the next Monday like nothing had happened. Why didn't you ever contact me? Albert asked. After that night, I mean, you never called, never came by the hospital. I thought about how to explain it. It wasn't false modesty or some misguided sense of heroism. It was simpler than that. It wasn't my business, I said finally. You were alive. That's what mattered. I figured you had your own life to get back to your own family to worry about. Albert reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a thick manila folder. My own life, Albert repeated, and there was something in his voice I couldn't identify, regret maybe, or irony. Do you know what I was doing that night, Victor? Why I was driving in weather like that? I shook my head, no idea. Albert's expression darkened. I was running away. From my wife, from my business, from everything. I just found out that my company was about to be investigated for environmental violations that could have sent me to prison for 15 years. I was scared, panicked, and I was driving to the airport to catch the first flight to somewhere without an extradition treaty. The room fell silent except for the ticking of an antique clock on the mantelpiece. The accident changed everything. Albert continued. While I was recovering, my lawyers found a way to clean up the mess. The investigation went away. The charges were dropped. By the time I was back on my feet, I had a second chance to do things right. He opened the manila folder and spread several documents across his desk. I built this empire because of that night, Victor, because you gave me the chance to make things right. Whitfield Industries is worth $120 million today. I own manufacturing facilities in 4 states, real estate holdings across the country. All of it exists because you pulled me out of that creek. My head was spinning. I don't understand why you're telling me this. Albert pushed one of the documents toward me. It was covered in legal language I didn't understand, but I could make out enough to see dollar amounts with lots of zeros because I'm dying, Victor. Pancreatic cancer, Doctors give me 6 weeks, maybe 8, and before I go, I need to settle my debts. This is my will. As of yesterday, you are the sole beneficiary of my estate. I stared at the paper, the words not making sense. That's impossible. You have a family. I have a son who hasn't spoken to me in 3 years except to ask for money. He's waiting for me to die so he can inherit enough to support his gambling addiction and his wife's shopping habits. I have a daughter who calls twice a year, on my birthday and Christmas, only to complain about how little I give her. His voice grew harder. Neither of them was in that creek 6 years ago. I pushed the document back toward him. I can't accept this. You don't have a choice. The papers are filed, the lawyers have been paid. When I die, everything becomes yours. But why? What happened that night was just human decency. Albert leaned back in his wheelchair, studying me with those sharp eyes. Do you know what you did after you pulled me out of that water, Victor? You gave me your jacket. You were soaking wet, shivering, your hands were bleeding from the broken glass. And you gave me your jacket to keep me warm while we waited for the ambulance. I had forgotten about the jacket. You didn't know who I was. For all you knew, I was some drunk who'd nearly killed you, but you treated me like I mattered, like my life had value. In 30 years of business dealings, you're the only person who ever showed me genuine kindness without wanting something in return. Albert died on a Thursday morning, exactly 5 days after our meeting. Philip Coleman called me at the diner where I'd been eating most of my meals. The will reading was scheduled for Friday afternoon. The law offices of Peterson, Hayes & Associates occupied 2 floors of a downtown building that screamed old money. I arrived wearing my only decent suit, feeling underdressed among the mahogany and brass fixtures. Albert's children were already there. Theodore Whitfield, maybe 38, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. His sister Margaret sat across from him, checking her phone with the bored expression of someone who considered this whole proceeding a formality. The lawyer, a distinguished man named Benjamin Carter, began reading in that measured legal tone that drained emotion from even the most shocking statements. To my son Theodore, who has called me exactly 12 times in the past 3 years, each time requesting money, I leave the sum of $100,000. Theodore's face went white. To my daughter Margaret, who has spent the last decade waiting for me to die while contributing nothing to society except credit card debt, I leave the sum of $100,000. Margaret shot to her feet. This is insane. The remainder of Albert Whitfield's estate, valued at approximately $120 million, is left to Victor James Hartwell. The silence was deafening. Who the hell is Victor Hartwell? Theodore demanded. Carter consulted his notes. According to your father's documentation, Mr. Hartwell saved his life 6 years ago in an automobile accident. So what? Margaret snapped. You think you deserve our inheritance because of a car accident? I didn't ask for this, I said quietly. They left without another word, faces twisted with fury and disbelief. As I walked to my car, my phone rang. Leonard's name on the screen, Dad. I just heard. Is it true about Albert Whitfield? It's true. Jesus, Dad. $120 million. That's incredible. Listen, Dorothy and I feel terrible about the other day. We'd love to have you over for dinner tomorrow to celebrate. I sat in my car outside the law office, looking up at the building where I just inherited more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. That's generous, I said. Let me think about it. 6 months later, I was sitting on the porch of my new house beside Cedar Lake, watching the sunset paint the water golden orange. It wasn't a mansion like Albert's place, but it was mine. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths paid for with cash. I'd kept Albert's businesses running, hiring good managers for what I didn't understand. I'd also started volunteering at a shelter for homeless veterans, helping guys who reminded me of myself not too long ago. Leonard had called several times, leaving voicemails I never returned. Dorothy had sent Christmas cards. I hadn't blocked their numbers, just stopped engaging. The truth was simple. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. I'd learned that in the military, and Albert Whitfield had reminded me of its value. As evening settled over the lake, I thought about second chances and the strange ways life rewards character when you least expect it. Albert had found his redemption in that creek, and somehow, so had I. Sometimes the best family is the one you choose for yourself. True wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the respect you earn and the peace you find when you choose integrity over convenience. The family that matters most isn't the one you're born into, but the one that shows up when you're sleeping in your car with nothing left but your character.